And action.
So,
This is a high definition.
how did you feel about working in this beautiful, very considered space?
Yes, well, how do I feel about working in such a considered space? Well, first of all, the space isn't an art gallery, which is interesting because when you go into an art gallery, you really, it's like you put on your art shoes and your art jacket and your art goggles, and you go in expecting it to be something. Whether that is a squat, like a dirty old building that I'm painting a wall in, or whether it's a really premium furniture space, I'm prepared for that to have a communication with my work or a dialogue. There's a dialogue always with the space around the work. In the same way that a song is affected by the medium you record it on. If you put a song on a record, it might even sound a bit different, but even having it on a format that you put onto a machine, it's like the material, the context, the tools you use, they change the thing you're listening to. Does that make sense? Or a film, like watching a film at the cinema and sitting with strangers on big comfy seats eating popcorn is very different to watching a YouTube thing on your camera, on your phone. It's like the context changes the content. First of all, there's a big column right in the middle of the space. Most people would maybe find that an obstacle, but I've put a bird box on it. And also I used it as a dividing feature. This side of the work has a series of posters that I made, and this side of the work is a lot more object-based. So I used the structure of the wall and this big column in the middle to kind of divide the space. And using the limitations to my advantage, draw attention to the thing you can't hide, sort of make a point of your weakness, or not even a weakness, just something that you can't control. But there was a speaker above it, which I removed, because I'm aware that anything you see in that spectrum of art is going to add to or take away. It's never going to do nothing. The first ever exhibition I did was in a restaurant, in a cafe in Covent Garden. For me, it was a great opportunity because Covent Garden's full of interesting people having a little coffee in this place in Neal's Yard. And I sold all the work as well to people I didn't know. I didn't do it for money, but I sold it to people who were sitting there having their lunch. And I don't think any of those people would have come into a gallery to see my work. They saw it by accident. That's kind of a nice thing to do, almost put your work where people don't expect to see it. So what have I taken away from it? That people appreciate what I'm doing? That's nice. That's nice to feel that I've got that. That's better than money, actually. Better than money, or just to have people appreciate what you do, and maybe not in the prescribed environment of art. Recently I painted a burger bar in Truro, and then The Guardian listed it as one of the top 10 interiors in the world. And this place that I painted, and all I was doing was painting a picture. But then you take me out of it and you fill the space with lots of people eating burgers and the context of a restaurant, and suddenly that painting made this space one of the most interesting interiors in the world. Which is kind of amazing, because if you took that painting and just put it on a wall outside or put it on a canvas, it wouldn't have the same effect. Well, what I want to talk to people about is, where does art start, and then design finish, and illustration start? When do those things, how do you define those things? I think they're really hard things to define, and I think that's interesting. I'm still trying to work that out, really, because often I skip between being a fine artist, street artist, illustrator, designer, installation artist, muralist. That list goes on all the time. And also I want to explore ideas of brute type, which is brute meaning like raw, like brute art, like outsider art. Because I have like a love for that, like bad design. Like, for example, when someone writes no parking, and they start with a big N and a P and A, and it goes, and they run out of space. I find that really enchanting and really it inspires me. And there's actually a term called wabi-sabi. You ever heard that term?
No, never heard that.
It's a Japanese term, and I think it sort of translates as celebrating the beauty in imperfections. So for example, wabi-sabi can often be used in ceramics if a pot is fired and it comes out a bit wonky, but it's somehow beautiful because of that unique thing. I like when things go a little bit wrong, and because of that mistake it becomes better unexpectedly.
Excellent. Here's to the mistakes then.
Exactly. There are no mistakes.